Podcast.
Welcome, episode 5, Amber Alert Podcast. I am your host, Amber Starkey. It is a great day to be alive. Give me 1 second and I'll make sure Instagram is live. And there we are. So you guys, we have pretty much all the same stuff to cover that we've been covering. We're going to start with news and then more like serious stuff, and then get into some of the lighter stuff. And then of course we'll talk about the Lord and some really interesting things that have to do with Christianity that are not, they're not new as far as like, this isn't breaking news. But it's stuff that probably a lot of people are not aware of. And I find it personally very interesting. And I think things like this are going to become more important going forward. So we'll talk about that stuff. I broadcast out of my basement and it is freezing down here. I have a little heater next to me. This thing I think has been off since my last episode, which was Sunday. So it's freezing. I've got a blanket. The heater's beside me. I got some hot chalky with a million marshmallows. I'm ready to go. So let's get started. We'll jump into the news first and talk about what's going on there. Let's see. Oh, Time Magazine announced their Man of the Year, and look who it is. My dude, DJT. You know what's funny about this is this would have never happened in 2016. It would have never happened in 2020. And it's just interesting that the times have changed that much, especially even just since 2020. There is such a different vibe to things, and I am here for it 100%. What's next? All right. Statement from the man himself. Let me just say, I'm so happy to have him back on X. Like, I have missed what he had to say. Waking up every day and seeing what he posted, I'm so glad he's back. So he said, it was a pleasure to have dinner the other night with Governor Justin Trudeau of the great state of Canada. I look forward to seeing the governor again soon so that we may continue our in-depth talks on tariffs and trade, the results of which will be truly spectacular for all. DJT. So if you don't know that, that is a joke because I think we talked about this in the last episode. Justin Trudeau was like, hey, I think Trump was sitting by him at a dinner and he said, if you don't, I don't know if it was fentanyl, like you need to cut down on the drugs pouring into the US or we're going to put like 100% tariffs on everything that comes in from Canada. And Trudeau was like, that's not sustainable. Like that'll cripple our country. And Trump said, well, then maybe Canada should just become the 51st state of the US and I'll let you be governor. So that's a joke, but that's the kind of alpha male that he is. What's next? Obviously this isn't true, but I would lose it. I'm going to bring back Chief Wahoo. Please. I mean, seriously, if the Washington Redskins are going to potentially go back to being the Redskins, then we better get back Chief Wahoo. I mean, like that, I love the shirt too. Please be real. Please, let's make it manifest. All right. What's next? Hold on. Before I move on, did I have anything concerning that as far as videos go? I don't think so. So what's this? Oh, New York City Mayor Adams embraces Trump's migrant plan. You know, I'm not sure what's going on with Mayor Adams, but he literally has, I don't want to say he got red pilled, but he has, and I know that there was some trouble with the law of some kind. I don't know if he got like subpoenaed or something like that, but ever since that happened, and maybe he's only doing it because of that, I don't know, but he's taken a different stance on some things. So, I mean, for whatever the reason, at least that's good for New York City, because I know I wouldn't want to live there, with it having been run the way it has been run up to this point. Moving on. Rob Schneider announces a new all-ladies talk show that he calls The Opposite of The View. What? It'll be the opposite because this will be entertaining. The new show, a direct competitor to The View, is set to begin airing before Inauguration Day. Oh, so that's very soon. All right. I don't know how The View is still on air. I don't know who watches that or why you would. I feel like you could probably play The View in like the Middle East and all the terrorists would just kill themselves if you put that on a loop. So way to go, Rob Schneider. Breaking, following the Jay-Z and Diddy news, LeBron James announces he is stepping away from basketball for personal reasons. I believe this just came out today. And Jack Unheard says guilty. So we'll see. Of course, everyone is probably familiar with that post LeBron James had made where he's wearing like a French-made costume and said something like "There's no party like a Diddy party." So who knows what went on there? I have personally heard things about LeBron. Let me say this about LeBron James. So if you go back long enough, I actually used to love him, obviously, because being from Ohio, not that I like follow basketball that much, but if I'm gonna like choose a basketball team, it's a professional team, it's gonna be the Cavs. So then they won it all in 2016 or whenever, I think that was 2016. So you kind of grow up, being a fan of LeBron James. I don't like him now because he's turned into an idiot, but for a while I respected him and I was like, look at him. He's been with the same girl like since high school. I haven't heard of anything crazy about him. One of the few like athletes that said, hey, when I make it, I'm going to like give back to where I'm from. He actually did build a school, I think in Akron. However, they're like completely illiterate and everyone that goes there apparently like can't pass any kind of test. So it's a mess, but he did actually do it. So I was like, well, at least I can like respect you for that. But in recent years, he's just turned into such a huge idiot and I've lost all respect for him. But I also have heard things, and again, this is like, I can't vet this. So you can't, this is hearsay. Is it true? Is it not? I don't know. But I've heard things from some Cleveland locals that are like, listen, he's been seen with some people that aren't his wife. And there's definitely some stuff that's gone on that maybe never made, it didn't really get out, but enough people know about it. So I don't know. Interesting though, that he would be stepping away from basketball. So that's, again, I think that came out today. So we'll see what actually happens with that. Is that what I just put up? Yeah. Okay. Moving on. Latest drone footage captures sophisticated UFOs interacting with each other over New Jersey. Okay. This has been going on, I think, for over a month. Now, I am no expert. I don't think it's UFOs. I do think it's drones. I've never seen a drone the size of an SUV, but that doesn't mean that they're not out there. To me, I think it's drones. Again, I am no expert. I believe I have a video for this one. Let me see. I think this is it. Let's watch it.
Frustrating. You're telling me we don't know what the hell these drones are in New Jersey are? Is that correct?
That's right.
It's crazy. I mean, that's crazy. That's madness that we don't know what these drones are. You're telling me that a lot of these, Mr. Jones, you're telling me that 90%, 95% of these drones along the U.S.-Mexico border, we can't interact because they're not in U.S. territory?
That is correct. A large proportion of them stay in foreign airspace.
I'll tell you what, there are a lot.
Hold on. So he's talking about some over the Mexican border, but what about the ones that are flying over New Jersey? That is a U.S. territory. That is our airspace. And I saw a spokesperson for the Pentagon said, so there was initial talk. These drones are coming from Iran and they're going back to some Iranian mothership. She said no, which, do you trust anyone from the Pentagon? Probably not. But she said they're not that. And then she said they are not, they're not ours. They do not belong to the U.S. military. If that's true, which, are they telling the truth? Who knows? If that's true, though, and they are in fact flying over New Jersey, which is our territory, our airspace, why haven't we shot them down? You're just going to let them fly? No, what are you doing? And of course, it's convenient that it's happening over a blue state where they don't have relaxed gun laws like some of the other states in the country. I mean, that thing, one of those flies for 3 minutes in Kentucky or, Georgia or whatever, it's getting shot down immediately. Ohio, like, shoot them down. If they don't belong to the U.S. and they're in our airspace, shoot them down. What are you doing? Let's just let it play out and see what happens. No, let's destroy them immediately.
Of Americans that are very frustrated right now, that are essentially questioning where are my taxpayer dollars going? this Doge craze that's kind of starting to take hold. This is very real. I mean, this is going to come. People are going to have to come before the carpet, and they're going to have to explain every single line item. What do you do here? What does this get? And
Thank you. Yeah, that's the whole point of Doge. Why do you have a job? What do you do? Why are, taxpaying dollars funding, paying your salary for you to do what? What do you even do? So I'm looking forward to Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy to really clean house there. What's next? All right, breaking. During the past 48 hours, Israel attacked 1,400 targets in Syria, destroying all chemical weapons facilities, all missiles, all Air Force, aircrafts and helicopters, all Navy ships and submarines, all anti-aircraft systems. I don't know if I have a video for that. I did see a video. I just don't know if I have it. I don't think that I do. Completely decimated pretty much all, at least I was seeing it decimated all of their Navy, which was like 15 boats, so not very big. If I were if I were a country anywhere near Israel, I would just leave them alone. I would. You're not gonna win that fight. It's very evident that Israel has superior technology compared to all of the enemies surrounding them. They will shoot first, ask questions later. That is a losing battle. I would just leave them alone. Okay. Especially if you have any idea what the Bible says concerning Israel, I believe it's Amos 9 talks about they'll never again be plucked up out of the land. Like they're not going anywhere. All right. So if you want to be on God's good side, you should be an ally to Israel. That's all I'll say about it. Let's move on. This isn't so breaking anymore. This is from like last week or so. Satanic temple to be outlawed in Russia. I have some respect for Russia. I really do. If you remember when the whole Ukraine-Russia thing started, war, if you want to call it that, and all the media was like, pray for the Ukraine, blah, 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 blah. Russia's doing this, Okay. Usually, though, if the mass media tells you to do something, you probably should do the opposite. So, again, I'm not saying that Russia is innocent, but I will say that I have some respect for them. And seeing something like that has, my respect has grown. So that's another country I would like to be allies with is not only Israel, but Russia as well. Because I think Putin is a little bit of a psycho. But again, I have some respect for the guy. Let's move on. All right, update. Mitch McConnell's spokesman issues a statement following his fall and injury. Leader McConnell took following lunch. He sustained a minor cut to the face and sprained his wrist. He's been cleared to resume his schedule. He shouldn't have been cleared to resume his schedule like years ago. He is out of his mind. Like he's one sour Skittle would probably kill him. I don't know why he still has a position. I think his days are numbered, but I'm sure you guys have seen him just completely freeze in the middle of talking, like right on camera. He's just like, okay, why do you still have a job? You and Biden both should be in a nursing home. All right, let's move on. Oh, you guys have all heard about this. We talked about it a little bit last time. The United Healthcare CEO that got murdered. So New York prosecutors have charged Luigi Mangione with murder in the killing of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. I have seen, what's interesting about this is I have seen so much support for this kid. And I call him a kid because I think he graduated high school in like 2016 or something. I think he was actually a valedictorian of his class. And apparently was not always a psycho. So what I've heard up to this point is he had like some kind of back surgery. And after the surgery, he, was given like whatever kind of meds to deal with the severe back pain. And he like went nuts after that. That's unfortunate. That's awful. However, the number of people I've seen that are in support of him gunning someone down in the street is honestly unnerving, because here's the thing. I have zero love for big pharma And I know how the insurance companies are. They say they care about you, but they don't. They're just in it to make money. Yes, they do try to deny claims that are legitimate because they don't want to pay out. So I've got no love for them either. But does that justify murdering someone who, had a wife and had kids? No. And the fact that people are supporting what this kid did, plus I'm sure there's much more to it. Like I think we talked about it in the last episode, that the CEO was potentially going to testify against Nancy Pelosi for insider trading. So there's definitely more to the story than we're being told, but the fact that people are supporting this is beyond me. There's actually a video of this psychopath. She is an awful person. Piers Morgan isn't, like I said about Eric Adams, Piers Morgan is another person who has been like a liberal for however long, and even he has had some takes that have been not the norm for him, and I can almost appreciate it if he's waking up or what. But let's watch what this psycho had to say.
Celebratory mood about the execution of another human being. Aren't you supposed to be on the caring, sharing left, where you believe in the sanctity of life?
I do believe in the sanctity of life. And I think that's why I felt, along with so many other Americans, joy, unfortunately, because it feels like...
Seriously?
I mean...
Joy at a man's execution?
Maybe not joy, but certainly not empathy.
What a psycho. What a psycho. Like... the fact that you can watch a longer clip than that, she kept talking. It wasn't like, oh no, I can't believe I just said, on TV that I felt joy when I saw he got murdered. But no, she kept talking after that. That's not the first crazy thing she said. But yeah, in fact, I saw, I don't want to mention names. I don't want to say something that would give away who this is, but there is a person, I'll just say I used to know them. And after this happened, I saw they basically were asking an open question. How could you be a sympathizer with this shooter and also a supporter of Donald Trump? And I was like, and then they were basically saying that, if you're a sympathizer, then you should be more of a Bernie Sanders person, not a Trump person. And I wanted to be like, do you not know who Trump appointed? Do you not know who RFK is, or the things that he's planning to do that directly affects big pharma and that will directly affect healthcare as well? Trump appointed RFK, who is, hell-bent on cleaning up what big pharma is doing, which of course is tied in with insurance companies. So what are you talking about? Why are you acting like being a supporter of Donald Trump would automatically make you like big pharma and healthcare? They don't go together. I don't know what you're talking about. But anyway, let's move on. What's this? All right, Xavier, love this guy. I wish that Trump's 3 assassination attempts got the same amount of mainstream media coverage as the United Healthcare CEO killer is getting. Yeah, it's funny because how the kid in Butler, PA, his body got cremated like 10 days later. And when is the last time you heard anything about that? When's the last time you even thought about it? Because no one's talking about it. And then there was the guy that, while Trump was golfing, what happened to him? I don't even know. Is he alive? Is he dead? Where is he? Why did that just get dropped? I mean, and the thing is too, Trump was a presidential candidate, not a CEO of a healthcare company, which is not insignificant, but a presidential candidate. 2 people tried to kill him, and no one, there's not the out. I mean, no wonder. I can't believe Time of all magazines would make him Person of the Year or whatever they just did. But who else? Who else is going to go through that at like 78 years old? He could have been chilling on a yacht anywhere in the world he wanted, to say, screw you guys. You know what I mean? Didn't take salary, nothing. Willing to put his life on the line. And it's not so he can be a dictator. It's because he sees the direction the country was going. And he's like, not while I still have over my dead body. I'm not going to see them destroy America like that. So he is, I mean, I genuinely think he's God appointed. Is he a perfect person? No, but I didn't vote for the person. It's the policies that are going to be best for getting America back to the way it should be so that we don't turn into, a communist country and then all, die basically, because that's what communism leads to. Anyway, moving on. Media, Democrats, racism. Yeah. Here are my thoughts. If you would stop talking about it, stop only reporting the stories when it fits your narrative, then no one would care. No one that's the thing, is like they want the population to think that, oh, we're so divided over race. Everyone is so racist and no one gets along and they hate each other. I'm like, no, they don't. Seriously. I can't think on it. Like, I'm trying to think. I can't think of a single person that I know personally that I would be like, yeah, I think they're a little bit of a racist. Like, I can't think, no one comes to mind. No, I could point out maybe like celebrities or something like that. Things I've heard other people say that sound like, yeah, they're probably racist, but like personally, I can't think of anyone. And this is one more reason I love my church, is because if you look around, there is like not a single race that's not represented in my church. And it's not a church of it's not predominantly white. It's not predominantly black. You have Hawaiians, Native Americans, Africans, you know what I mean? The whitest white of European white people. You have India, like people from India. You've got like Asians. You've got every Arabs, every kind of person represented in that church. And you know what I see every week is that those people love each other. They don't care who they're sitting by. They're sitting there all worshiping the same God, having a great time, giving each other hugs, laughing together. I'm like, this is much more representative of America than anything you're going to see on the news. The majority of people don't care about race. They don't. Have you ever watched a team? Do they care? Oh, my team just scored a touchdown. Do they care if it's a black guy or a white guy or a Polynesian? No. They're like, oh, here's a butt slap for my bro who just got in the end zone. Like, no one really cares. It's just the media is obsessed with trying to divide us and make us think we all hate each other when we don't. Let's move on. All right, into sports. Heisman Trophy finalists. Dylan Gabriel is like, what, 30 years old? He's one of those like COVID stragglers, I think. I don't think it's fair that he's there. You know who got the giant middle finger in all this? My dude, Cam Scadaboo. Dude did not even get considered, and he honestly earned it. So that's not cool. I'm actually like done with the news already. So let's move on to like, this is a post from my pastor. Let's transition into this stuff. Don't let how life started out wreck your faith for how it's going to finish. Your life is not going to finish how it started. God is going to bless you so much that you won't have room enough to receive it. That's basically a quote from Malachi 3:10, which of course involves tithing. But that's true. If you just put him first, seek ye first the kingdom, and all these things will be added unto you. Put him first, please him, be a good and faithful servant. And there is a reward for that. So you don't have to struggle and trudge through this earthly life. Oh, this is awful, but at least it'll be worth it someday when we're in heaven. No, it's worth it now. It's worth it now if you actually know anything about God and the fact that you are his beloved children and he does want to bless you. So you don't need to wait until you get to heaven. There are blessings now. There's a good life to live now. The problem is a lot of people, I think, I don't know if they feel like they don't deserve it, or they're just like a Johnny Raincloud and obsessed with focusing on everything that's negative and giving the devil more credit than he should ever have, because he's not going to have the final say. In fact, he has to stop whenever you call him out. So if you feel like you've been taking one L after another, it's just been this relentless onslaught from the devil. That's not even scriptural. He has to leave you alone for a time. Jesus, remember, fasted 40 days. The devil shows up to tempt him. 3 times Jesus defeated him with the word, said, "It is written." And then the devil left him alone for a time. He's not allowed to attack 24/7 for your entire life on earth. But he won't stop the attack unless you, when he comes to spurts or whatever, it won't stop unless you, like I said, I think it was last episode, call him on his bluff. He's used to, especially Christians, just lying down and taking it. Well, this is just our lot in life. No. Resist the devil. That implies you're not doing it. Let's move on. I love this. Ross Johnston is a great evangelist, young man doing a great job. So this is something my pastor had tweeted, and he actually did a whole teaching video on this, and it was excellent. I listened to it. So I don't have the whole thing here, but basically it's not a ministry to comment on another's ministry, sowing and reaping and all that. And if you are like in ministry and your entire ministry is devoted to attacking someone else, what are you doing? So this is what Ross said in response to that. I believe in exposing evil and standing for truth, but when an entire ministry or channel is built on critique and opinion, it's dangerous ground. Before you comment on somebody else, when's the last time you led somebody to Jesus? The last time you blessed a ministry with a seed? Great take as always. That's true. And unfortunately, a lot of people do sit around. I think that doctrine's wrong. Okay. What are you doing, I guess, that's more than what the person is doing you're criticizing? Have you dedicated your life to reaching souls for Jesus Christ? Are you going on missions? Are you even giving? Are you a tither? Are you sowing to missions or a church regularly and faithfully? What are you doing that would allow you to bypass the plank in your own eye and attack the speck in someone else's eye? So it bothers me to see even people I don't agree with, like cessationists, like John MacArthur or whatever. I read one of his books, and my thoughts were he is very, very bitter against charismatics. I don't know what happened to him or why. But that you reading between the lines, you could pick that up. And I thought, I don't know what's going on there, but, does he devote his ministry to attacking others? I think at some points he has. And in fact, I believe that his ministry kind of took a hit after doing that publicly. And he's not the only one. There have been others, even other full gospel ministers that have attacked others publicly. And then it doesn't take long. Usually you'll see a some kind of decrease in their ministry, or moral failure comes to light or something. It's not your job to be the Holy Spirit to someone else. And there are a couple scriptures here that back up what I'm saying. Here's the first one from 1 Thessalonians 4:11-12. Aspire to live quietly and to mind your own affairs and to work with your hands as we instructed you, so that you may walk properly before outsiders and be dependent on no one. So basically, literally mind your own business is what that says. And here's another one. Who are you to pass judgment on the servant of another? It is before his own master that he stands or falls, and he will be upheld, for the Lord is able to make him stand. So basically, that's the thing, is ministers are servants of the Lord, and they'll answer to him. And it's a waste of time, and it's also usually hypocritical as well to devote a bunch of time to attacking other people. If you don't agree, then don't listen. Don't read their books, and that's fine. There are plenty of books I wouldn't read, plenty of people I would have zero interest in listening to. However, I'm still open to it. For example, there was a video my husband sent me, and the guy that was preaching is a Baptist. And of course, I agree, quite a bit with Baptists, but where we differ is they're like kind of cessationists, and I'm obviously not. But I was still able to appreciate the parts of the message that I did agree with, and there were good takeaways there. So I wouldn't write somebody off, and I definitely wouldn't go as far to be like, well, I think they're, I don't know if they're going to heaven, unless they're preaching outright heresy and things that you can't find in the Bible. Then who are you to make such a judgment about somebody else? They answer to God, and you're going to answer for yourself to God. So I would mind your own business, like it said, and everybody wins in that situation. What's this last thing I have? Yeah, this is like a follow-up to that. Literally the verse I just said. You'd be amazed how little time you have to comment on the lives of others when you actually have a life of your own. Make your aim to live a quiet life, to mind your own business. Yeah, facts. What are you doing? Lying around, judging other people. You clearly aren't doing anything. Get to work, maybe. So I didn't even know this was a verse. Slap all my enemies in the face, shatter the teeth of the wicked. Psalm 3:7. That is an actual verse. I didn't even know it. The funny thing is, this is my pastor. In the middle of church on Sunday, he was like, "What is that verse about shattering the teeth of the wicked?" So the media team found it. He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Oh man, some of you just got a new Facebook bio verse." And he's like, "You know what? I'm actually going to tweet it right now." So he stopped his preaching to tweet that. Which is interesting because it is funny how throughout scripture you see anyone that has dedicated themselves to destroying or even just hindering the growth of the church has met an awful end, right? In Hebrews, it tells us it's a dreadful thing to fall into the hands of the living God. And then in Romans, whenever Herod Agrippa was persecuting the church, and then how did he die? Eaten alive by worms. Such an awful death. People couldn't even go in the room. That is a Nero. Same thing, came to a terrible end. I wouldn't do that. If you hate God and you hate the church, if you're smart, you'll just hate from a distance and not actually do anything active to try to stop the growth of the church, because it never ends well. God is a God of he's just, you know what I mean? My hot chalky is good. All right. So what I want to talk about, again, this stuff is not new information, but quite a few people, I feel like if they're aware of it, they're like, maybe that was cool, but I think it's fascinating. So the first thing I want to talk about is the Shroud of Turin. This is not a Catholic relic. I don't know why it has a reputation, or it's a misconception to think that it's Catholic. It's not. I think maybe it's been in the possession of the Catholic Church, or it was at some point. It's not a Catholic relic. This is an actual real thing. So this is a picture of it. So this is from 1898. The negative image of the Shroud of Turin has an appearance suggesting a positive image. It is used as part of the devotion to Holy Face of Jesus. The Shroud of Turin, or Turin Shroud, there's the Italian, whatever that means, is a length of linen cloth bearing the image of a man who appears to have suffered physical trauma in a manner consistent with crucifixion. There is no consensus yet on how the image was created. So there you can see it, and until they reached the point in photography where they could get negative images, no one really knew what they were looking at. So that was groundbreaking. It's a piece of cloth, and there is a woman by the name of Dame Isabel Pitzek. I'm probably not saying that right. She was Hungarian. She was a particle physicist and really an authority on various kinds of artwork and the different mediums you use, whether it's paint or whatever, that kind of stuff. She was an expert on the subject. I think she passed in 2016 or so, but she examined the shroud. Here's a couple more pictures of it. You can see they're positive and negative. And I have a few more. This is the full length of it. It's one cloth, I believe, that was on the body, and then there's a cloth just for the face, but they match up perfectly. And there you can see it. There's another example. So anyway, she was interviewed about this because she studied it, and she basically said, I remember watching one of the interviews, that it's not a painting. No one knows how the image was transferred onto the cloth, because they've run tests on it, and there's still no explanation for it. And I do have a video. I have actually several videos. Before I get to her, let me see if this is it.
You should try it sometime.
No, sorry. That's my pastor. I will play that later. This one?
Setbacks, scientists continue their search. And Dame Isabel Pitzik,
There she is.
a particle physicist, believes the shroud has brought science to the threshold of a whole new understanding of physics. While dealing with the position of the body within the cloth, she discovered one of those mysterious properties that cannot be, yet somehow is. An interface that divides the image transport into two hermetically separate yet simultaneous actions and forces, causing the shroud to be taut and parallel on both sides, creating a true event horizon.
When you look at the image of the shroud, the two bodies next to each other, you feel that it's a flat image. But if you create, for instance, a three-dimensional object, as I did, the real body, then you realize that there is a strange dividing element, an interface, from which the image is projected up and the image is projected down. The muscles of the body are absolutely not crushed against the stone of the tomb. They are perfect. It means that the body is hovering between the two sides of the shroud.
I just want to stop and say it's interesting because obviously we know from the gospel accounts that Jesus was wrapped in linen, and my personal opinion is I think this is 100% real, and not only just because of the way it looks and the fact that there's no natural explanation for how these images were put onto the cloth, but also in the past. So this has been in Italy for a while, and it's been moved around some, I think. But what's interesting is there have been several times where, well, it has been studied. They've run tests on it. I think they've maybe dated it, and it times up pretty well with, when we know Jesus was crucified. And also they found pollen on the linen, and it's consistent with, there's only one place in the world it could have come from, and guess where? Israel. So, but also too, there were reports of they went to run tests a couple of times, and all of a sudden everything gets shut down. Some guys come in black suits. They're like, you can't run tests, and kicked everybody out of the room. I don't know what, and then they didn't like destroy it or anything, but there have been efforts to prevent some of the testing done on it, but there has been some successful testing.
What does that mean? That there is absolutely no gravity. Other strange things you discover, that the image is absolutely undistorted. Now, if you imagine that the cloth was wrinkled, tied, wrapped around the body, and all of a sudden you see a perfect image, which is impossible unless the shroud was made absolutely taut, rigidly taut. Everybody thinks that the tomb signifies death. Not at all, the exact opposite. The shroud and the tomb signifies an unbelievable beginning, because in the depth of the collapsed event horizon, there is something which science knows as singularity. This is exactly what started the universe in the Big Bang. We have nothing less in the tomb of Christ than the beginning of a new universe.
So that I find interesting. I have one more video about it. Give me just a second. I think this is it.
Of non-photosensitive substrate in the entire world. There are none other like this, because the shroud is non-photosensitive substrate. So the only way you get an image on there is a tremendous amount of light and heat energy. That's not what we have here. the heat energy would have destroyed the shroud like that. It's not scorched the way it would be if it were like something horrific, like a nuclear blast. It's on the topmost spiral and it didn't go through. They can do the math. It would take such a short burst, 1/40 billionth of a second. The only thing that we have now that could make a burst that violent and that short without producing the accompanying heat energy is called a directional vacuum ultraviolet radiation. Like ARF lasers do this. You'd have to have all of them in the world. They're like 14,000. You can't do it. You're essentially also seeing a 3D image with that shows inside the man on the shroud. Subdermal contusions are being shown, like the organs. So essentially what you have is a man becoming spiritual. There's one account that can actually justify what you see, the gospel narratives and the miracle of light.
So if you find that as fascinating as I do, you can Google Shroud of Turin, and there's an actual website, and you can spend hours there just reading about it and seeing a lot more pictures and whatnot. I think it's fascinating because I think it's just one more thing that's evidence of course, the resurrection of Christ, but also just the power of God, that clearly something supernatural had to happen for that image to be on that cloth. And even with all of today's technology, like that guy just said, it's impossible. Like you can't do that. Like we don't have anything to create that now. And we're the most technologically advanced that humanity's ever been. So, I like things like that I like when which again, this isn't like, a new discovery, but the technology continues to advance. And if you still don't have answers for something, that says something. But I like when, as time goes on, that they keep finding more things that only further reinforce and back up the Bible. Because like I've never met or listened to an atheist that's not angry. Every single one of them, if you listen long enough, you'll be able to detect some kind of bitterness or mockery there. I'm like, it's not that you don't believe in God. You're mad at him. You blame him for something probably horrible that happened. But you know he's out there. You just have a problem with the God of the Bible. But at least most of them aren't stupid enough to say, oh, the Bible is a completely made up document and it's been changed a bunch of times. We still have the original manuscripts. There are like 5,800 Greek manuscripts of the New Testament. They're not going anywhere. The Dead Sea Scrolls are still around, the Hebrew manuscripts, and there is no other ancient document that comes close to having that many manuscripts. So you can't say that it isn't real, that it's not as old as it is. If you want to take umbrage with the fact that Jesus in fact was the Son of God and he came in the flesh, like you can think whatever you want, but you definitely can't act like there's not historical fact behind it. And definitely anyone would agree that Jesus did in fact even in Islam, Muslims see him as a prophet, and they recognize that he was a great healer, because and you can go back through different generations throughout Islam. There were plenty of them that would even get to certain places where people are getting healed in Jesus' name because they know there's something real to it. They even recognize that. So, anyone that would be a denier of that is honestly just an idiot, and they want to deny it. So the shroud is super interesting. Another thing is, and this again is not a new discovery, but I haven't been aware of it all that long. A lot of people are familiar with the story in the Bible from when the Exodus out of Egypt and how the Israelites crossed, the Red Sea got split and the Israelites crossed over on dry ground. So what's interesting is that they've actually found wheels and like spokes and I think maybe even horses' bones at the bottom of the Red Sea, because the Bible tells us that the Israelites crossed over and then Egypt's armies went in to follow them and they got swallowed up by the water and drowned. So this is an example of one that they found. So this goes all the way back to 1978. And that's just one picture. I believe I have a video for it. And you could do a search on this and watch for hours, probably plenty of different ones, but this is just a little taste. I'm going to have to skip ahead a little bit, I believe.
A robotic camera was lowered into these waters for the first time.
This has never been done. No one have been in the area at all with a remote control camera.
The robotic camera's survey revealed many shapes and objects familiar to Mueller.
Sorry, let me pause it real quick. Goes back to what I was saying a minute ago. I like it that, like they said, this hadn't been done before because no one had the capability with this kind of camera. So it's funny that you know, a lot of like atheists or whatever are oftentimes intellectuals, and they're like, they act like science and God are two opposing viewpoints, basically. But the more you study science, the more it points to intelligent design. And then the further you advance with technology, the more discoveries we make that go right back to the biblical narrative. So you can't win in any direction. It all goes back to God. And that's one thing I love about it. As we continue to make new discoveries, they just continue to back up and further reinforce what the Bible already told us happened.
Including coral formations with right angles, arches, discs, and straight shafts fused into larger masses that had the appearance of twisted wreckage.
Now, when we have been able to go back and forth with a remote control camera, we can repeatedly see that these strange structures we are looking for are there. Not at one place, but you see them again and again and again. There are situations where you see something that looks like an axle, a hub, something that looks like a wheel, and you say to yourself, this is not a coral reef, this is a coral growth on an artifact. And that is what's different to me when I compare corals at other locations around the world.
Since the earliest explorations at Nueva, one distinctive type of formation has often been identified on the sea floor. A slender, table-like structure, sometimes standing on end, with a coral-encrusted base, a straight shaft, and a circular top.
It's a 90-degree angle, a right angle, between something that looks like an axle and the wheel. And you can see this in different varieties, and it looks very different from normal coral growth.
Okay, so that's the gist of it. I'm a little bit bored, and I didn't watch that before dropping it in here, but there's like several minutes left, and I don't really feel like watching it. If you have interest in that, though, you can look it up and watch, I'm sure, a ton of videos. I watched a couple of different ones. I just didn't put them in here. So super interesting stuff. And then the last thing, which probably a lot of people are aware of this also, because this is not a new discovery, Noah's Ark. There we go. So you can see the shape of it. And this is exactly where the Bible said the ark came to rest when the waters receded. It said it came to rest on the mountains of Ararat. So where this is, to be super precise, it's called Mount Judy, which is part of the mountains of Ararat. There are different like heights and whatnot. And the guy that I would say, if there were to be an expert or an authority on the subject, would probably be Rick Renner. He's been to it multiple times, and I believe he studied it, like maybe even taken samples and whatnot. And if you go to his website, he is just a wealth of information about, like we've talked about, the Nephilim and how many giants are mentioned, different races of giants mentioned throughout the Old Testament. He writes about all of that, and super smart guy. I think he lives in Russia now. Very interesting stuff. But this is just a short video of him talking a little bit about it.
Is it possible today to visit the ruins of Noah's Ark? The answer is yes. If you have the money to do it and you have the courage to go there, you can fly to Istanbul, Turkey, then take a transfer to the city of Van in the eastern part of Turkey, and then drive several hours to the eastern regions of Turkey to the mountains of Ararat. And in the mountains of Ararat, there really is a lower mountain called Mount Judy. And on the slopes of Mount Judy are the ruins, the remains of Noah's Ark. And in fact, it has even been designated a national park by the country of Turkey, and people do go there.
I did not know it was a national park. That's really cool. I wonder what it costs to go there, because I would love to. That would be, I've been to the Ark in where is it, like Cincinnati or across the border in Kentucky. I don't remember. And that was cool. But I mean, look, if you can go see the real deal, I would rather go see that.
Now, it's hard to get there, but if you have the money to do it, and if you have the courage to go there, yes, you can go. And today, you can really visit the ruins of Noah's Ark on Mount Judy in the Ararat mountain range.
Awesome. Thank you, Rick Renner. You're awesome. I was actually watching a video earlier about this, another one of his videos, because again, he's been there several times, and there's a rock structure, and he believes it was the first, so the oldest to date altar where Moses made the first sacrifice after he got off of the ark, because it's man-made. It's not you can tell it wasn't formed by the water receding or anything. There's even a little like canal that someone used an instrument to kind of carve it out so the blood could trickle down. So he said, if the flood did in fact destroy everything that came before it, this would be the oldest altar that is probably on earth. So that's really interesting. I don't have that video. But anyway, I find that stuff fascinating. I would love to go see it. I remember hearing about that years ago, and I thought at the time the Turkish government wasn't really playing ball. Like they would, I don't know, not let you go see it. And maybe it's still kind of that case unless you're a certain someone or you do have enough money, like you said. But I just, here's just one more time to look at it. That's fascinating to me. It's interesting too, and maybe this will just segue into the next episode. There are plenty of structures throughout the world, by no means isolated to one country or one region, but plenty of structures that some of which have been mistaken as man-made. Sage Wall, for example. Lots of people have said this had to have been built by someone, but when you go look at it, it's clear that it was naturally formed, although it is interesting to see. Maybe for the next one, I'll put a picture of that. But there are plenty of things. I don't really want to give it away just yet, what I want to talk about maybe in the next episode, but there are things like in Peru and other parts of the world that are, I don't know why they're not a world wonder, because if you go study them today, again, even with the technology we have, it's not possible to create today what you find that's now an ancient ruin. So how in the world was this built? What kind of technology did they have? You definitely can't do it with a chisel and a stone. I'm not going to give it away. That's all I'm going to say. So we'll talk about that in the next episode. It begs the question, who actually built this? Because it wasn't the Incas, it wasn't the Mayans or the Aztecs or any of those ancient civilizations. The Native Americans, like, no, something else was going on. But anyway, that's enough with the ancient things. We'll get into more of that later. I believe there was something I thought was funny having to do with fitness. Let me find it and we'll watch it together. All right, let's watch it one more time. One more time. Oh, that is funny. I think it's funny too how when people hire a trainer, like you literally pay money for one, and then they'll like try to get out of what the trainer is having them do. Like, all right, here's the plan. This is what we're going to do for the next hour. And they're like, oh, is it, can we maybe do something else? It's like, no, you literally hired me because you can't motivate yourself or you don't know what to do. So here I am making you do things that are hard to help get you in shape. And you're like trying to get out of it. Why are you paying me then? It's just funny. Last thing, I want you guys to look at this picture of my dogs. Oh, look how cute they're being together. Stiggy Stubbs and my big fluffy panda. I'm so glad they get along. Good boys. That's very cute. I love when they cuddle together. One time they got onto the same bed together and cuddled, and it was the cutest thing. Usually they'll like kind of fight over it, bark at each other if one is like on the bed that they want. But one time I saw them together and it was adorable. That might be all. I'm almost at an hour. I have one more video. This guy. So this is the guy who makes fun of Chris Collinsworth, who I do love Chris Collinsworth, but I cannot help everything this guy puts out is hilarious. So let's watch.
I'll never talk. Very well. Bring in the specialist. Okay. Oh. Oh. Now here's a guy who's hard to break. You know, they told me you're pretty tough. Let's find out.
Hold on, pause real quick. I don't know how you hate Chris Collinsworth because this is what he does. He laughs constantly and is always smiling. How don't you like him? He makes you happy because he's clearly like, it's contagious how happy he is.
Oh, I mean, wow, look at you. You're so impressive. Look at how confident, poised, collected you are. Really remind me of someone we know. Patrick Mahomes.
Wait, I take it back. I'll tell you where the money is.
Now, let's take a look at some of the best plays by Patrick Mahomes, shall we?
Wait, please. I'll tell you everything. I'll tell you everything you need to know. Wait, please don't do.
Yeah, that's enough out of you. Now, I know it looks like it's a quick 5-yard out, but really that's only a play Mahomes can make. He scans the field and he finds the best option possible.
How do you not love him? I don't understand. It's hilarious. All right, guys, that's all. I actually got through all my content today, and I have not gone over an hour. I got through all my videos. So that's about it. I'll pop this up. This is how to contact if you have questions, comments, concerns, suggestions. Also where to follow. Yeah, for now, still live on Instagram and YouTube. Eventually, I will get X up and running. But for now, it'll be just these two. Facebook, I did try to add, and they would not. In fact, I think they almost deleted my page. So who knows? That's always a gamble. It's a risk that they might kick me off because they are kind of communist still. YouTube, of course, is a risk as well. I mean, it's not that Instagram is safe either. In fact, the only one I would really be safe on is X, but there's also like Rumble if it really comes down to it. But I'm not really making waves right now because there's like 2 people that watch, and that's fine. Here's the last thing. If you want to donate, those are the ways too, so that I can keep doing what I'm doing, get better equipment, get a desk down here because this table moves. Like you can see it moves. But that's okay. We're working with what we have. Things are off to a smooth start so far, which I'm super thankful for because again, I'm new to this and I didn't really know. I still don't really know, a lot of the X's and O's of it. I've already learned a lot though, and I'm having fun doing this. I am. So, looking forward to continuing. The closing remarks. Oh, no, we didn't finish because I didn't play that video of my pastor. And I don't remember what he's talking about, but let's watch it.
It's one of those faith churches. I don't like that. How many medications are you on again? Connect the dots. I don't like faith. I like medication. You're like the Cookie Monster of antidepressants. You won't hide God's word in your heart, so instead you are a slave to Pfizer and Moderna and Johnson & Johnson. Why don't you try it our way? Get the Bible in your heart and say, I'm going to have joy. I'm going to have peace. I'm going to have protection. I'm going to have life. I'm going to have children that serve the Lord. I serve the God of breakthrough.
It's so funny how true that is, because when I look back at the beginning of this year, the only thing that I started doing differently was getting back to reading my Bible every day, because I had just fallen off. Like I used to be super disciplined with it, and then I wasn't. And at the beginning of this year, I was like, all right, I'm going to start like reading, every day. And that's the only thing that had changed up to that point. And it really does renew your mind. Like it does. And it's not just a book. I can't stress that enough. It really is alive, and it is the word of God, and it is Christ in written form. So you want to know what he has to say? You want to have a conversation with him? That's where you go. Literally earlier today, I was sitting and praying, and it was funny how what came to mind was an example from the Bible, and it just hit me. I was like, okay, that's for me. Like, that's you using your word to speak to me. And it's not a specific, hey, go to this place right now. No, it's just this is what I will do if you do this. And so I'm like, that's just one example of how it really does. It's not a a collection of old stories or even just good proverbs to live by, a book of wisdom, as some people would describe it. It is literally alive and applies to your life, and it will renew your mind. It will encourage you. It'll give you peace beyond understanding. And if you haven't tried it, that is the first thing I would start doing. Start reading the Bible. If you've never read it, you will be blown away by what's in that book. For example, interesting stories like we talked about Noah's Ark and the chariot wheels and all that stuff. Really interesting stories you'll read that a lot of people have no idea are even in there. And the crazy things that happen throughout the Old Testament, crazy things that happen in the New Testament, crazy things that happen today that all go back to the Bible. But it is chock full of a bunch of interesting stories, and you will not, I mean, I'm not going to say that some parts of it aren't boring, because I definitely get bored reading through like Leviticus and whatnot. But there's still something in there for you. Otherwise it wouldn't be there, because all scripture is breathed out by God and it's profitable for, all those things it lists there. So I would start there. Read the Bible, start listening to preaching, start listening to praise and worship music. I've noticed that too has made a huge difference in my mindset. Is I hardly listen to anything else now. And it changes things. It doesn't turn you into a perfect person overnight, but it starts to strip you of things that are kind of part of your personality that aren't good. I've noticed I'm quicker to anger. I'm much more selfish. I say things I shouldn't say when I'm listening to things that aren't either preaching or praise and worship music. So input really does equal output. That's something my dad always says, and it's absolutely true. So with the content that you consume is oftentimes what comes back out. That's why when you get the word of God in your spirit, before you know it, faith is what's coming out of your mouth, and you don't have to even force yourself to say something you don't believe. It just comes out of your spirit. And faith comes by hearing by the word of God. And it's absolutely true. So that's what I leave you guys with. Don't know when episode 6 will be. Thank you for watching and tuning in. I appreciate you and love you. What is today? Thursday? I don't know. I might do episode 6 like Sunday or Monday. Don't know. I will probably announce it the same day. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Love you. Take care. Be blessed.